Okay, so what I'm attempting to do here is put on these OEM style center caps on my 87 Turbo Regal. And I'm kind of a newbie at this, but I'm educating myself here. First of all, online I saw that a few of the folks were putting on 2 or 3 of them, being that what I was gathering was that there's a pretty poor design by GM with the little clips that surround the lug nuts. I did buy from Rock Auto the closest thing to what I believe the OEM lug nuts. I had read that a few of the guys were putting on 2 and then getting it on there and then putting on the rest of them. I gave that a quick attempt, and that just didn't seem like that was working too well. So this is where I'm at so far. I'm going to see if it pans out well, as I've put all 5 on loosely. As you can see, none of them are tight at all. And see if I can get in there. If I can focus. I don't want the clip underneath the there's kind of a light issue, but because it's getting dark here, it's basically twilight. So what I want is calling it a clip or whatever, that little thing that curls back. I'm assuming I want it to basically just stay and rest up against that part of it there. So that's what I've done. I had one issue where basically this was a little bit non-true, and so on one of these, so I put the screwdriver in there, hit it with a rubber mallet, and it seems to be fairly well centered. So now I'm going to pause the video and start to tighten these guys down a little bit at a time and see how it goes. So we'll be back here momentarily. Alright, so that was a total bust. By the time I tightened the lug nuts down, it slipped past these guys, which I've decided to bend down and try something that everyone I've read online says no, they don't bend down, because I think everyone looks at them and is tempted to bend them down, and everybody says no, you don't bend them down. And so in leaving them bent up, tightening them up, I don't see any way that they can sufficiently grab the lug nuts. In tightening them down, this thing simply would not stay sufficiently tightened on the wheel between the lug nuts. And so I read several, at least 1 or 2, I think, accounts of where people have lost their center caps, probably because they weren't sufficiently grabbing onto it. So this is what I've done, is I have bent them down. I'm going to take the lug nuts off, and the way I see it, it makes much better sense in a way, I don't know, that it gets pinched between that area there and that area there. In another way, it doesn't make sense. Tightening it down with those little tabs of metal in there does not seem good, but I'm going to give it a shot and I'll let you know. Okay, so I've got 2 of them on there so far. The 8 of my flashlight here. And that's what it looks like without lug nuts. I put 2 on. So far, it seems like it's grabbing a lot better. We will definitely see once I put the other 3 on. Not to mention, if I can get that light on there properly. Not to mention what it's going to be like once I tighten it down completely, but I'm liking this a lot better already. See if I can. I mean, already, even with 2, it's not moving. Whereas before, I just can't see any way that it would sufficiently attach it with any security whatsoever. So let me continue putting these lug nuts on. Okay, so all 5 lug nuts are on loosely. This is about 15 seconds after I paused the video. Those went on very easily until right now. That thing's not moving. Get some light on there. Just if I can. Yeah. As you can see, the tabs are below the lug nut lip, or LNL. Sorry. So that's what it's looking like so far, but I'm going to see what kind of problems I run into once I torque the lug nuts down. But right now, that center cap is definitely going to stay on there. We'll see. Be back in a couple minutes here after I torque these down. All right. Well, that's it. The lug nuts are not only torqued down, because I was a little concerned about interference between the lug nut and the wheel. I actually torqued them down with that baby, breaker bar. So they are tight, and for the most part, I'm very pleased. Mainly because I have no concern that the lug nuts aren't tight. It is perfectly centered, and most importantly, it's not coming off. So all the stuff I'd read online about leaving the tabs, I'll call them tabs, not clips, leaving them up, go ahead. I'm not doing it that way because it didn't stick. I don't know what the scoop is there, but it just didn't work. I bent them down, and let's see if I can get in there, and just a little bit of the tip is pinched. A little tiny bit of that tip is pinched. I can get another one here. Of course, it's difficult to see in there. Difficult to see if it was daylight or whatever, just because it's such a tight spot. But to me, that seems like the way to do it. It's centered. The distance between every side of it is equal. What I'm talking about is looking at that area right there. Taking the wheel off the hub, the center cap does contact the center part of the wheel. So it does not get perfectly flush. However, what I'm seeing is that little distance, which is probably a couple millimeters, appears to be equal. You probably can't see it that well in the camera, but that little distance, I'm not going to spend too much time, but just take my word for it. Get the light in there. It's basically perfectly equal all around the wheel. So let's pan back here. Looks good to me, and it's not moving. It is officially pinched. There's no way. It's on there. And the lug nuts are tight. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to drive it and retighten the lug nuts. That little, there's probably about, see if we can get it there. It's probably about that much of those little tabs in there. So, yeah, these rims were black when I purchased the vehicle. And I have been in there and trying to get them restored to their original glory. If you look back to, this is just some, let me grab my flashlight. I've made many attempts. That one hasn't been done yet. I've cleaned that one originally with some paint remover. But yeah, getting these guys looking sweet again, and maybe just one shot for our TR fans viewing pleasure of my motor. Got a balanced and blueprinted stock block, Bordeaux 30 over. Forged crank, forged pistons. Well, that's just not looking very bright in there. 212 roller cam, roller rockers, RJC front mount, and that baby hanging there. Ball bearing, 60 millimeter turbo. 80 pound injectors, running E85, about 20 psi. Motor's got about, I don't know, 1,500 miles on it, and it's running sweet. So I figure, with all that power, how the hell am I supposed to cruise around town with no center caps? You know what I mean? All right, that's it for now. It's my DIY center cap vid. Bye-bye.